Well, good afternoon. I am Dr. Terry Warren, your host. This is Wisdom and Knowledge, and we are excited that you're with us today. And I'm very excited because I have two amazing, incredible guests that are with us today. First is Dr. Antoine Chevalier. Dr. Chevalier is an amazing, amazing doctor. He has been a doctor to the White House for 20 years. He just came back from Japan, where I believe he's going to be nominated for a Nobel Prize for the work he's done. But he's done work that is just incredible in changing lives. I also have with me Rydell Mackey, who is his Chief Operations Officer, and she is with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You know, your work is so amazing, and it's touching lives, changing lives, but it's practical stuff.
Yes.
It's stuff that you're helping kids that are suicidal change. You're helping people that have drug addictions change. You even took someone that would have been a serial killer, change. You take athletes that in the NFL and stuff that are concussions and turn it around. I mean, the things that you do are life-changing. And without the use of pharmaceutical drugs, which is quite amazing. But before we go there, because you have an amazing story, where you came from, you know, and how you started, the reality is God is amazing. And to take someone that went through such a childhood that was so traumatic to where you are today is a literal miracle. So let's start by you telling us a little bit about, and Rydell, I've heard her story. Her story is almost as horrific as your story, if not more. So you both came from backgrounds that were abusive, and you've turned your lives around, and you're making a positive impact in the world. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, well, you can tell I have an accent. I'm from deep South Alabama. I'm from France. And you say, what does a Frenchman do at the White House, where I don't eat meat, I don't eat cheese, I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke cigarettes, I don't believe in extramarital affairs, so they kick me out of France. It's just too boring. So I'm very happy here. But the short story is I was born in a very small town in France, and my parents were undertakers. So I was actually born in a funeral home. And when I was 13 years old, my dad woke me up in the middle of the night, and he thought I was strong enough physically to help him. And he drove me to a house, and a 15-year-old boy just committed suicide, and he hanged himself there. So he climbed on top of a chair, cut the rope, instructed me to hold on to the legs because he doesn't want the body to drop on the floor and clean up the blood. And we dumped the body on the couch, and at that moment I made a commitment to myself that one day I would find a solution to suicide. And I'm 46 years old right now, and I do have a solution to suicide.
Oh, that's an amazing story. That was your definitive moment.
That was the moment that changed my life. Intuitively, I knew that the solution for suicide is not in Western medicine. So I put myself through a PhD program at Sorbonne University in Paris for international sustainable development and minor anthropology, so I can travel all over the world and study indigenous culture, so I can learn their wisdom. Being a Christian, I'm a universalist Christian, open-minded Christian, but God works in mysterious ways, right? Yes. I've been stretched and tested by God I don't know how many times. Finally now, I'm in a position with this new modality and changing lives. And, you know, even I'm a highly educated man. I have 2 PhDs, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not a healer. I'm an assistant. And the reason why it works is because I don't do the job. Actually, God does. So one of the key work that I do is you literally take homeless veterans that are in the streets who are suicidal, drug addict, and suffering from PTSD. And in one session, it takes about 3.5 hours to 4 hours, it stops. and they don't go back to this kind of lifestyles, then they can transition and apply for a job, and they're able to keep it because they are mentally functional. Wow. And again, the reason why it works is because God within them does the work, not me. I'm just an assistant.
Amen. Rydell, you are an amazing woman. You have, you know, a life-defining moment as well.
Yeah.
But just briefly, give us a little bit about your background and your history.
Absolutely. So my background kind of starts interestingly. I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco. My father, who's still active duty right now, 26 years Army, you know, he came into my life around the age of 5 when he had come home from Djibouti, Africa, and Afghanistan. He had a 2-tour. My stepmom and my dad raised me for 10 years. So I was raised in Germany and then Switzerland. From there, I came back home, and God put me to the test. You know, God allowed me to go through an experience where he really showed me that he's always there. I had been sold into sex slavery. I was basically, people were paying, you know, another individual who was my caretaker to do terrible things to me, you know. And believe it or not, something that I started to find as I was going through all of this is that if you've gone through something in life, no matter how traumatic it can be, and you're able to still breathe and you're able to still wake up, that, you know, if you change your perspective and you see yourself as a survivor that you are, not somebody who's just completely destroyed, you really do make a big impact. So because of everything I've gone through, I have basically looked for survivors, as we'll call it, that have these world-changing ideas and that can really give back to the people, and collectively have brought them together. And so together we're almost like God's army. So.
Well, amen. That's quite a story, Rydell.
Thank you.
Doctor, tell us a little bit more about your methodology that you're doing. You were just in Japan. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the work you did in Japan, because I understand that you may be nominated for a Nobel Prize for the work you did over there. Explain the work and how it applies, you know, the practical application of it to people.
Sure. My partner in Japan is Dr. Nakano. He's a top neurosurgeon in the world. He's done more than 5,000 brain surgeries at 100% success rate. And he was intrigued by my approach, and he gave me some of his patients that he cannot operate on, the thalamic pain. The thalamus is part of the brain, it's deep. So if he operates and cut, they're going to die, right? So he can't operate on them. So he was curious to see if I could do something on my functional medicine background, which is non-invasive. So one of our most famous case, we call him ping pong patient, because a 72-year-old Japanese man came because he can't win when he plays ping pong anymore because he had a traumatic brain injury and he had a stroke. So his entire left side of his body was paralyzed. So when he came in the clinic, he was just dragging his leg, you know. So we put his brain into a functional MRI, not the big machine, and I gave him, like, it was a 3.5-hour session. Right after the session, he was able to walk. So we have everything on video, and we put his brain back into a functional MRI, and it shows more than 70% increase in cerebral connectivity and plasticity. We did another functional MRI 3 months after, and he's still able to walk, and we are proving scientifically that the benefit of the session stayed. So in other words, in one session, we healed the brain permanently.
That's
functional and non-invasive. So the medical doctor, PhD neurosurgeon, really was very impressed, and he was starting asking questions and how did you do that, etc. And he wanted me to test this methodology with other patients. So he keeps sending me these people that are paralyzed, you know, traumatic brain injury, stroke, concussion, head injury, and sure enough. So now we have enough data. I just came back from Japan. We have the attention of the chairman in Japan, in Osaka, the big guy who is in charge of the medical research and development. And he looked at the data and he got excited, and he wants us to submit a research protocol. It's like 30 to 50 page in Japanese, pure science, for clinical trial. And the deadline is next month. And we're going to go back in August with a kickoff meeting. And he says we have a very good chance, very, very good chance to be approved by the Japanese government and funded by the Japanese government, which is, in my view, in my scientific view, the toughest entity in the world to break through.
Yeah.
So if we get endorsed by the Japanese government, we're going to be able to leverage this worldwide. So that's very, very exciting to be able to change people's lives, change their brain permanently. And I have a German scientist also with my partner, and they looked at the data. They said that this is Nobel Prize for medicine material, so we'll be able to submit our nomination maybe next year or 2 years, you know. So
that's amazing.
Very exciting.
But you have done some pretty incredible things. You've been with the White House 20 years.
Correct.
And your basically main function there is to keep them out of stress
And pain.
and pain.
And
Is
mentally
that correct?
functional, yes.
That's quite an accomplishment.
Well, it's a pressure cooker. You know, I took it as a mission because I care deeply about the U.S. and the Constitution. So, you know, I'm a French born, but I'm a U.S. citizen. I care deeply. I believe America is exceptional. We haven't had a world war since the United States of America took world leadership. So I took it as a mission. I think God wants me there. I'm going to do my best to keep this amazing public servant, you know, do a good job. Because if they make decisions that impact our lives, right? So
Yes.
if they make decisions under stress, not necessarily the best decision for us. But if I keep them stress-free, pain-free, I think they are mentally, physically more functional so they can make better decisions for us. So I really took it as a mission and with a lot of passion and took upon myself to find the best of the best of the best of the best in the world for functional medicine in order to help these amazing decision makers at the highest level of the U.S. government.
Now, one of the biggest issues I feel in this country, and I feel that's one of the downfalls of the country, is the drug abuse.
Yes.
It's beyond a little problem.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, our youth are being destroyed
yes.
because of it. You know, it's a spirit, the spirit of pharmacia,
Yes.
which we understand. But in practical terms, it's deteriorating our youth and deteriorating our country.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the biggest problems, and a matter of fact, I had spoke with a doctor once who was dealing with people with heroin addictions. And I was trying to help someone that had a heroin addiction, and I was praying for them. And I asked this doctor, what are the chances of getting someone to get off of this drug and to stay off of this drug? And they said, I must be very candid with you. The chance is about 2 to 5%. 95 to 97% of the people that get on heroin may stop for a little bit, but they'll go back to it. But I understand that you have a passion to eliminate the drug problem.
That's correct. Yeah.
And that you are able to treat them in such a way that you have a 100% success rate
Correct.
of them getting off the drug, and not just getting off of it. Because getting off of it, there are a lot of ways to get people off, but to get them to stay off of it, that's a major accomplishment.
Yeah. Thank you.
Elaborate on how you do that, and then, you know, I want Rydell to kind of give us some insight on how we're going to take that and utilize it around the country.
So 2 things. My top priorities on the humanitarian side, which is a nonprofit Dr. X World Peace, which is linked to the new website now, time2heal with a number 2.com. First, the veterans. Okay. So we have freedom of speech and freedom of religion. We have all of these rights and freedom, and the veterans are making the ultimate sacrifice to actually protect our freedom, right? We have a crisis in this country, in the U.S. Every hour of a day, we lose a veteran because of suicidal ideation. Okay, so the statistics out there is 20 to 24 a day. I believe it's a lot more than this. Okay, but basically, if you're a veteran, you are a lot more at risk for taking your own life than a civilian. That to me is beyond unacceptable. So that's the number one priority. And the number two are the kids. Kids in their teenagers and 20s. We have a huge opioid addiction issue. It's a national crisis. We are losing our kids. We don't hear about it in the mainstream media, which is a shame. But there's an article in West Virginia where the undertakers can't keep up because we lose our kids for opioid addiction and all forms of addiction, but especially opioid. So what I offer is a real solution where in one session it changed their brain to a point that they're not going to touch heroin, they're not going to touch opioid. That's it. That's qualitative approach.
Yes.
The quantitative is our products. We're going to launch products which are going to be readily available for everyone to buy. We make it affordable so they can manage their addiction to prevent them from committing suicide. That buys us time to build school so I can train people what I do. And we will have literally an army of practitioners who are going to be able to treat people in the streets, people who are suffering from addiction and suicidal ideation and PTSD, and get rid of it in a sustainable way. So qualitative, quantitative approach.
Rydell, how are you going to roll this out to the U.S. and the rest of the world and implement it? Because, you can have the greatest thing in the world, but if it's not being used out there, it really doesn't mean anything.
Absolutely. And if I can add on, Dr. Anton, to what you were saying, the process, it's not just, can you take a problem away? Because it's almost like we can. The first phase is being able to stop the urge, but it's also giving them a different perspective, too. There's a lot of things that will happen in people's lives moving forward. And so what I really love about what Dr. Anton does is it's not just the fact of, I have this pain inside of me, I've put myself in this self-made prison, and I just want to sit there. It's one of those where, okay, I'm going to walk out of this prison cell that I've made, but I'm also going to perceive, the world on a much better spectrum. I'm not going to be that victim anymore. I'm not going to, see myself as I'm being held down. What used to affect me no longer affects me now. And so I love the fact that he creates almost another, not reality, but a different perspective of what happens. So moving forward, that's another way that he has definitely been able to move people forward. Now, how are we going to launch this and move this forward? Creating the right team. I've been just so blessed and honored, to not only be asked to be a part of his team, but to create the right army around us all. Obviously we've got yourself who's coming on board with this mission, and we've got other people that are coming on board. But reality is this: the way we're going to launch it is we're first going to build that right foundation, really get the right people in play, and then from there, slowly but surely, as people start to reach out, and that's we're really asking your help as you reach out and you say, hey, I've got an opportunity, or hey, we've got an organization, or hey, we've got something going on, that will allow me to get Dr. Anton where it is that he needs to be in front of the people that need him. This isn't just he's the White House doctor and you've got to be an executive person. No, it doesn't matter who you are. Just speak up, because I can't take action unless I know and hear where it is that I need to go.
One of the things I want to mention, and I think it's important to understand, is within the church, there's a big problem, and the problem is that the church has their head stuck in the sand, and they don't want to acknowledge it. And the reality is there's as much problem almost in the church as there is in the world with the drug problems, the suicides. The divorce rate in the church is higher than the divorce rate in the world. And, we have a generation of youth who they come on Sunday, and then on Monday they're getting high. And so the church doesn't want to acknowledge that, and unlike unfortunately most pastors, they want to position themselves as the perfect churches, and everything's perfect in these churches, and it's really not true. And so we believe very much in the spiritual, we believe in supernatural and divine healing, but there's also the practical. One of the things I want to mention is that typically with the type of things that you do, they're generally not embraced and endorsed by the medical community per se. And being that you're a Christian, and when they look you up, they may see that you went to some of these New Age expos and places like that. And, it's my understanding that you went to those places to basically get proof that your stuff works and to introduce it into a market that receives it. Because the traditional medical community doesn't. But you're now moving from there, and because of all the scientific statistics, you're able to move into the traditional medical community now with your technologies. Right, Did you want to say something?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. So what's a little bit different about how we are is we're not coming in and attacking this as a, which is better or who's better, because to be fair, there are people that are healed and there are people that get better using this. What we really care about doing is adding a tool to the toolbox, right? I don't want this to be like that war, that battle. No. What is it that we can do? Can we add a tool to the toolbox where now all practitioners can have this skill, have this ability, and from there, when you see the data, it speaks for itself. So I don't ever want people to feel like, hey, we're bashing on, how the health field is now. I mean, there are some areas where, it needs help, and it's pretty off guard, and it's not on the right track. But we are a tool that if is used by all fields, whether it be medical, physical, whatever, it does have a better outcome. Thus, you'll start to see that that's a more practical use, tool, if that makes any sense at all.
So, Doctor, I have a question. I would assume you by yourself can't do all this. So you have to duplicate yourself. Is this a technology or a modality where you can usually train, let's say, a homeopathic doctor or a holistic doctor? I mean, your specialty is integrative medicine.
Yes.
So integrative medicine is now taking on a huge, move, as well as functional medicine. It's a whole new system out there that's being embraced by a lot of medical communities and a lot of doctors. Is it easy to train practitioners to use this? And are you looking for practitioners to join you?
Yes, it is. I can teach what I do. There are multi-stages. So part of a therapy is called neurological integrated therapy. So it's neurological stimulation using medical electrical acupuncture without needles, 2 little machines that are neurostimulators. That's one aspect of it. And the other aspect is more cognitive therapy based on more like a Qigong healing modality. You combine both, so you have 3 aspects. One aspect can be easily taught right now, which get people out of chronic pain, for example, sciatica. I had an NFL player not too long ago, a retired NFL player playing for the Vikings, tight end, and suffering from concussion and depression and suicidal ideation and drug addiction. He was in chronic pain for more than 22 years. And this man, I saw him in January, and in one session, it's all gone. We are in May, I believe. And the chronic pain side can be easily taught. And I have lots of video testimonials of people who have been in pain for more than 20. I just came back from Japan. This woman had a headache for 40 years. 40 years. 4 out of 10 pain for 40 years. She came out of a session pain-free.
Yeah.
But those machines. So there is that aspect. Okay. The other aspect is more cognitive therapy, and there is an energy healing aspect to it. Those 3 combine. You can get, for example, one of the most difficult case I had was a serial killer. This young man, 19-year-old, mass murdered 78 animals for fun. And he almost killed his father, his mother, his sister, became a heroin addict at age 13. So between the age of 6 and 13, he mass murdered a huge amount of animals for fun. So he was on the table, ended up in prison, and high security prison. He was attacking police officers. So 18-year-old, he's not a juvenile, got out, he's 19. His sister died of heroin overdose. He told his mom, I don't want to die like my sister. I don't want to go back to jail. I need help. So his mom is a friend of a friend, treated him. And turns out when he was 4 years old, so we go back in the past and we see the trauma. 4 years old, he was sexually abused by a woman working at the daycare because she figured out his mom was always late, so she locked him up in the closet and would sexually abuse him every day for 1 year. So on the table, he goes, well, I thought humans and animals were like objects. So for him, killing those things is like not a problem because he was treated like himself as like an object. So when you remove this trauma permanently, that inside of him is gone. It's more complicated, right? But the bottom line is this. So after the session, he stopped killing animals for fun. He stopped heroin, because heroin, all of his drug abuse, is like self-medication, right? To forget about the pain, how to cope with pain inside of you cannot deal with, right? So the desire to do heroin is gone. So no more heroin, no more killing animals, or the desire to kill humans is gone. Next month, we did another one, and he went back to school. He studied fashion, and he opened his own business.
And the reason being, and kind of like what Doctor was saying, is it's intention. As long as the practitioners, the holistic healers, the right people, if you've got the right intention and you know exactly why you're doing what you're doing, and it's truly in the sense of freeing or assisting a person as they're seeking to break through, then they're going to be somebody that Dr. Anton can come in and suit up, and we're really looking forward to duplicating and having little mini Dr. Anton Chevaliers running around here. Get excited.
The other thing I want to mention is we partner with two incredible individuals, AJ and Jed, which I believe you're going to have them on the show soon. So we are offering a real platform where we can literally take an individual, get him physically, mentally, spiritually functional, then being trained by the top special force expert in the world, okay, for different practical, very, very non-nonsense practical skills that I feel honestly everybody should have in this world. And then the third expert on the team is the top world expert for hand-to-hand combat, which everybody need that too, which also boosts their confidence. So if you can visualize this, we take a homeless veteran, right, suffering from PTSD, drug addiction, and suicidal ideation, right? He's getting the treatment with me, he gets the training with Jed, and he gets the other training with AJ. You have the whole package there, and that's the four of us with Riddell. This is what we offer to the world. It's a real solution, practical, no-nonsense solution platform, which is very exciting.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you both for being on the show today. The one thing I want to say is, we need to understand that God is the healer.
Yes.
But God also provides, I believe that for everything that someone struggles with, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, whatever it be, God creates something that will solve that problem. And God also is the one that pours the intelligence, the thoughts into the mind of someone to create all this technology.
Totally, yes.
It's all from God. And so I'm excited about the work that you're doing, Dr. Antoine. I'm excited about you, Rydell, helping to take this to the world. And you've been given the website. Give it again.
Time to Heal, with number 2 in between. Time to Heal.
Time, the number 2, heal.com. Go to there, and if you know someone that's struggling, send them an email.
And we are excited to have you as our Chief Public Relation Officer. So the team is increasing.
So thank you for visiting us today. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Dr. Terry Warren, with my guest, Dr. Chevalier and Rydell. And thank you for being here today. And we look forward to seeing you again on Wisdom and Knowledge.
God bless.
Thank you.